We'll get started real soon. And if you want to join us, the link is in my bio on TikTok. You can come join the school community and check it out in there. I'm going to be sharing how Arthur turned one distressed seller into 3 potential transactions and my follow-up process on a inbound cash offer request lead. So we're going to get started real soon here. Just have to take care of a couple of housekeeping items. Boom, boom, boom. Bing. And we got that going. We got that going. If you're watching on one of the other live stream channels, the link is in the description to come join our school community. It's Leads, Listings, Leverage, and you can come hang out in the room there in the live session. Oh, Richard, my goodness, like you're hunting me down. I was like 30 seconds late. I mean, golly. Fair enough. All right. So, Closers Cafe on a Tuesday morning, a day late for the week. Pam and I were driving. Well, actually, at this time yesterday, we were still getting Caden kind of squared away in his room. He had fairly significant surgery on Friday, so we were taking care of him, getting him settled, and making the long drive back from Kentucky yesterday. So back and settled and ready to rock and roll for the week. I'm going to share primarily 2 things this morning. Number one, I'm going to unpack a win that Arthur emailed me this morning using LeadDeck. And number 2, an example follow-up process with an inbound cash offer request motivated seller lead and what that looks like, specifically one that I've already connected with. In other words, it's not sort of the preliminary stage. I've already made it to another checkpoint with this person, a significant text exchange, and then a phone call conversation when we were in West Virginia, I think. It's when I talked to Jason yesterday. Pam drove for the most part because she gets car sick if she's not driving. So I at least was, somewhat productive on that trip. So let's go ahead and rock and roll. If you're on TikTok, you can come hang out in the room here. The link to our community is in the my bio, and if you're on one of the other platforms, the link is in the description. I see Arthur is on here, so I'm going to start by sharing an email Arthur sent me this morning, which is as follows. Whoops, hold on, skip. Nope. Perfect, because I know people are going to be curious. So this is the email Arthur sent this morning. Hi, Josh. I finally got my my seller master deck set up with distressed sellers, about 38 in all. Specifically, what he's referring to there is he had distressed sellers, motivated sellers, that he uploaded into the system under what we call our master deck, or I think we're just going to call it my seller deck. I don't know, words, whatever. But using his LeadDeck license with data that he already had. He goes on to say that the first call I made went to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. However, I did send the simple text, would you consider an offer on your property at X for the right price? The answer came back, yes. That started the texting conversation, only to find out that he's looking for another property at the north end of the county and also has another property to sell. So I had a great LeadDeck day yesterday. Just wanted to share. So Arthur also left us a Google review, which if you are a LeadDeck licensee and you haven't already done so, we would love a rating and review on Google. You just Google LeadDeck AI Harrisburg. I think is the fastest way to find it. I can find the link for that. And I also wanted Arthur to share this in school to inspire and share what's working. So a couple of questions, Arthur, for you. Number one, the distressed sellers. Did you have all of the data? In other words, you had contact info, or did you skip trace them with LeadDeck? Okay, fair enough. And so you used the info that you already had, just to clarify. In other words, the number that you called and didn't leave a voicemail and then texted, that was data that you had from another source. Okay. The distressed sellers, can you be more specific for those who are curious? What type of distressed sellers were those? Okay. 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 Fair enough. So this specific lead was a foreclosure. I'm assuming you mean pre-foreclosure, right? They haven't actually been foreclosed upon. They're in some state of the process, but you also have some probate data. And it just so happens that the first one that you reached out to, I mean, I find that I get luckier the more work I do. So I'll say that, right? So Arthur got lucky, quote unquote, in that was the first one of that data set. And yet, if he hadn't done the work, it wouldn't have happened. And that was a foreclosure, but you didn't reference anything about that. You just asked the question that we know, or one of the scripts or phrases that we know works really well, which is essentially, would you consider an offer? Would you consider an offer? So anything else that would be relevant or important for folks to be aware of if they're wanting to do the same with their LeadDeck license? Yeah, this would be perfect because I'm sure people are curious. Like, what did that exchange look like? How did it go from sure I'd be open to an offer to you uncovering the fact that he's looking or would like to buy another property and potentially has another property to sell as well? Sure. Okay. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Could have been the 10th one. Yeah. Could have been the 10th one or the 38th one. Right. Yeah. Great stuff. So a couple things that I'm just going to double tap on to emphasize for everyone. Number one, he went for the connection. When would you be available for a quick chat? Um, they came back and wanted to keep the conversation on text message, right? So a good reminder that wherever the prospect is comfortable, keep the conversation going on that channel until the next logical step has to be a different channel, a phone call, an in-person appointment, etc. And a slightly different variation that Arthur could have said would be, would you be available for a quick chat or would you prefer text? That has been that's a little script that I've used, and some people will tell you they're open to a quick chat. Some people will tell you, I prefer text for now. And though Arthur may have preferred a phone call, he ended up getting a ton of information and details that that's what the point of the call would have been anyway. So like, who cares? So that's number one. Number two, when you get someone that says sure or I'm open to an offer, etc., a question you might ask, and I'm gonna, the reason this is coming up for me because the next thing I want to share is an exchange that I had with this motivated seller and what I'm doing next with this person. I tend to, or will typically ask, depending on how they reply to that question, how much are you looking to get for it, or something along those lines. I will say something like, any idea how much you're looking to get for it? And sometimes they will throw resistance, and that's fine. But if I get an answer, it gives me an idea of what level of motivation and how realistic they are. And it sounds like in that case, Arthur didn't necessarily specifically ask that question, but he did obtain that information. He was able to obtain what number they were thinking on the original property that he was contacting for. The last thing that and Arthur did a wonderful job of illustrating this is just peeling the onion, making sure that we're asking questions. All of our replies ideally will include a question to gather more information and intel. Not because we're trying to interrogate them, but the more information we obtain, the better we can determine how we can best help them. And so kudos, Arthur, for taking action. And you'll have to keep us posted on how that goes. Significant opportunity, and also he's going to have to work to earn it, which is what this business is around, right? Like, it's these commissions don't just fall into our lap. We have to start with a conversation, and we turn that conversation and hopefully into, in this case, maybe multiple contract opportunities and then multiple closings. So, Arthur, thank you for sharing and being, willing on a very short notice to answering a couple of follow-up questions as well. So this is going to be short and sweet this morning. I'm going to share one other thing. We can open it up for a little Q&A if anybody has anything. And then I've got a busy day because I'm playing catch up today. So I'm going to get to getting. I got an inbound motivated seller lead yesterday. Okay. And this is the text exchange that I had, and then I ended up having a phone call. So I don't know. This came in not early morning, but earlier in the morning, and we were still getting cadence settled. So at 11:30, I texted him this sequence of texts. Hey, Jason, it's Josh with eXp Realty. Looks like you requested an offer for the street address. Is that right? And I had the number wrong because I was like, a million things going on. And he replied that. Now, before I had texted, or before or after, I don't remember, I did also leave him a voicemail. And the voicemail on an inbound seller lead like this that I leave is as follows. Hey, Jason, this is Josh with eXp Realty. It looks like you had requested an offer for your property at 409 South 4th Street. I was calling to confirm that's correct and also have a couple of questions for you when you have a minute. If you would, please give me a call back, or you can text me back at this number. That's the voicemail. Gosh. Now our my son, Caden, who's, again, he's kind of dorm room bound for now, asking for a code. Anyway, back to the text exchange. I said, yes, sorry about that. How much you're looking to get for it? He said $250K. Everything's remodeled, but hallway, bathroom, and deck, 4 bedrooms, chimney in 2024, blah, blah, blah. He kind of gave me a rundown. I don't have a realtor, but she came and wanted to list it at $265 to start. I don't know what that. I don't have a realtor, but she came. Anyway, I don't care. I take the assumption that I'm going to get the business in scenarios like this. We then had a phone conversation later. I think he was, I think he works third shift or maybe second shift. I don't know. I get those confused. But he was calling before work. He had been sleeping when I called. So he must have submitted the request and then went to sleep or whatever. Had a phone conversation. And from that, pretty much obtained the same information that he had shared. I got a little bit information on timing and what he's looking to do. So he wants to relocate closer to work. He's probably going to rent temporarily, which on the one hand is a bummer because, it negates the possibility of multiple transaction sides. On the other hand, if I do a good job when he's ready to buy, I'll still get that potential. On the other hand, it's less to coordinate because it will be easier for him to find a rental property than it will be to coordinate the purchase and sale, but both at the same time. So the first thing I always do in these scenarios, is I want to see what kind of institutional offers, instant offers, come back on the property. So I submitted this here, and I got preliminary offers lower than the number that he mentioned. Okay. And I'm going to view that as a good thing, not a bad thing. My guess is there have been updates or improvements or there's information that is not being correctly reflected in what this property is. So I'm gonna use that as a jumping off point. Also, the AVM values are much lower as well than the number that he is mentioning. So now what? Do I just give up or what? No. I'm going to try to find justification for the number that he's talking about. And to do that, I'm going to go directly into my MLS. And I'm going to look in Newport. If you want to see my screen and you're just seeing me on TikTok, you can come join the fun. The link is in my bio on one of the other platforms. The link is in the description. Let's see here. So I'm looking for, I want detached, I want single story, I want closed and pending. Wow, there's that much in Newport? Well, that seems weird. Let's see what we get here. I probably should have narrowed it down a little bit more because a lot of these are not relevant. So let's go back here. I'm gonna finagle some of the criteria a little bit here. And actually, I'm gonna pull up the tax record data on Remine as well, because I want to have that first and foremost. And I'm just going to transparently communicate to Jason what I'm seeing and look for justification for his number, knowing that given his timing, which is not like I need to sell this by the end of the month, he said, 2 or 3 months, something like that. And the fact that he's essentially looking for retail, 7-day stress-free home sale is going to be the offer that I'm going to make. Okay, so 1995. Let's see here. It's a small lot. It doesn't have the bedrooms and bathroom count. If I remember correctly, it's 4-bed, 1.5 bath. So I'm going to say 3+ here. And I'm just gonna, I want the 200 to 400. What do we got there? Only one? Hey. Okay. Let's see here. All right. About the same square footage, about the same year, 270. Now this has a 2-car garage and much bigger lot. Okay. So I don't really care about, I care about all of this, but we already had a conversation. He already told me that he's off work on Friday. I already planted the seed to come on Friday. So I'm going to use all of that as a way to get myself in the door with him. So I'm going to deselect a bunch of these so that I'm kind of curating the offer options. And I'm going to send him a Loom video. Now, if you're following along here and you have a similar scenario and you're just connected with him to the point where if I literally just said, hey, I'm looking at the property here and I'm getting some conflicting information and data, it would be great if I could pop by, take a quick tour on Friday, confirm some things, and that way I can get a better idea of what the best offer options there are for you. Okay. However, I'm a big proponent of sending personal video messages, and I want to send him something between now and then. It also allows him to see my face and connect with me on some deeper level. So I'm going to open up this. I got to get rid of this. How do I get rid of this here in the sidebar? Nope, that's not it. How am I going to hide that? Close? Oh, okay. You guys are all still there, though. Yeah, okay. We're still good. So I'm going to record him a short video message that I'm going to send to him. And then regardless of the sending the video, I'm going to make sure that I get my in-person appointment scheduled with him for Friday. I use Loom. You can use whatever you want. Jason, good morning. First off, I appreciate the time yesterday, both by text and on the phone. And I think based upon what I'm seeing, it would definitely make sense for me to pop by on Friday, take a quick tour, verify some information and details, because it just seems to be a little bit of a disconnect from what I'm seeing online about the property and what you're describing. So the preliminary offers and even some of the automated values are, in the high hundreds to 200,000. However, when I went and looked for comparable sales or properties that we can use to justify the number that you referenced, I did find one here that closed at the beginning of the year at 270. Now, this one had one fewer bath, but more square footage and a bigger lot. But at least it gives us some indication of what this might bring. And so I know you mentioned you're off on Friday. If I could pop by late morning, early afternoon, we can take a tour. Then I can go over offer options in more detail. I would say that most likely, and what typically clients like yourself that we end up helping, the best option, generally speaking, for them is what we call our 7-day stress-free home sale. That is a documented process that we have for helping folks like yourself net the most from the sale. In other words, walk away with the most equity from the transaction with the least amount of hassle, etc. So let me know if if late morning or early afternoon would be better on Friday, and then we can explore in more detail. I can confirm some information that maybe isn't jiving with what we're seeing online, and also explore next best steps. Now, that wasn't ideal because it was, I think, because I've got too many streams and so forth going on. It was kind of glitching a little bit, but it's better than nothing. What do I do with that? Well, the first thing I do is I personalize it for him, for Jason, from Josh. Offer options for 409 South 4th Street. So that's what we're going to do first and foremost. Then I'm going to email it to him, and I'm going to text it to him. I'm not going to call him about it because, again, he's probably sleeping. Just from the schedule, the work schedule, he said he's working 4/12s, and he was working, I think he was getting to work or starting to work at 7 yesterday, or maybe it was 6:30. Whitmer Mobile Detailing. So he's got a side gig, it looks like. All right. For Jason, from Josh, 409 South 4th Street. Morning. Thanks for the time yesterday. Check this out when you have 2 minutes. Would late morning or early afternoon on Friday work for me to pop by for a quick tour? Notice, very low commitment. Pop by for a quick tour. When we were talking earlier about Arthur, would you be available for a quick chat? It's not like we're not asking for big commitments here. And I know that's like a little thing, but it does make a difference, right? I'm not doing a detailed investigation of the property. I'm popping by for a quick tour. Okay. That's all we're doing here. Okay. So I'm going to send that, and then I still have it saved. Thanks again for the time yesterday, period. Check this out when you have a couple minutes, period. Would early afternoon, late morning, or early afternoon work for me to pop by for a quick tour on Friday? Question mark. Oops, it was not saved, or the copy wasn't saved. Oops. So for whatever reason, the preview isn't fully populating, but normally, whoops, still doing talk to text. But normally it would get a preview that he would see flashing, etc. I think it's probably because, oh no, there it is. It just needed to send. So you can see that he gets that. Well, it's not oh yeah, it is an animated GIF on his phone. Questions about that or anything we covered today before we wrap it up with some housekeeping for the rest of the week? Stuart's working. He's phone. He's on the phone. He's working it. How do I have 23 unread texts from the time I went live? All right. Well, if there are no questions, then housekeeping items. The schedule for the rest of the week. At noon today, I'm doing a short little training, how David, I don't know if David's here, but how David turned one expired into 3 potential listings, and what that process looks like, why that works, etc. It'll be an info session. If you're already a LeadDeck licensee or in our Founders Club, you're certainly more than welcome to come. But this is more for folks who are LeadDeck curious. The link to that is in school. It's also posted as an event on Facebook or LinkedIn, etc. If you can't find it, text me or DM me, and I'll get you that link. That's at noon Eastern today. At 1 Eastern is our weekly LeadDeck mastermind, our AI mastermind. Sean's got some cool stuff on the docket. I've got just a couple of notes to share, etc. Tomorrow, I will be live prospecting at 11 a.m. right here in the school community. And then Thursday at noon, I will do our live demo. Now, for folks who are interested in leveraging LeadDeck to recruit or agent attract or just to create an additional affiliate income stream, I will be doing another session later in the week. And I will get to everyone that had initially expressed interest. I'll get that link to all of you once I have that nailed down as to what day and time. And then I do anticipate that being a regular, an ongoing weekly session where we're going to talk about improvements that we've made to the affiliate center and using it for that specific use case, as well as how to promote your affiliate link, connect with agents, etc. We'll be sharing some very tactical best practices. So that's the schedule for the rest of the week, and I'll look forward to seeing all of our Founders Club members and licensees later today. Or if you want to come check out the free training on how David turned one expired into 3 potential listings, that's at noon Eastern today. Let's all make it a great week. And Arthur, thank you again for sharing.